So I will begin the December 16th, 2024 Dartmouth Planning Board meeting with a roll call vote. Kevin Estes,
Here.
Margaret Sweet,
Here.
Nick Cyclepatis,
Here.
Helio Rosa,
Here.
Kevin Mello here. So first on our agenda for tonight is an appointment with the Board of Health, and I see Chris is here from the Board of Health. So we'll let him take right over.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes,
Yes.
Chris.
Thank you. Thank you, members of the Planning Board. So for the record, Christopher Michaud, Director of Public Health for the town of Dartmouth. So the matter that I'm about to discuss pertains to composting. And while that might fall outside of the direct day-to-day role of the Planning Board, a few months ago when I approached the town of Dartmouth Select Board about a recently discovered administrative regulation that the state of Massachusetts has that allows any individual to petition Mass DEP to change their regulations and to put forth a set of draft regulations, later turned into a recommendation by the chair of the select board to approach various land use departments, including the Board of Health, Conservation Commission, the Planning Board, and Waterways Commission. So at this point, the Board of Selectmen and all of the other boards have met, discussed, and voted to sign on to the petition. So I do understand that you might have been presented with the petition letter and the accompanying draft regulations. Why are we doing this? We're doing this because beginning around 2014, and I'll make it brief, we began to experience a significant number of nuisance complaints from residential neighborhoods pertaining to composting. And that resulted from the 2014 deregulation by the Mass DEP to promote composting as a way of diverting the disposal of certain putrescible or organic waste away from permanent disposal in landfills to compost sites. The problem is that these compost sites arrived in many people's backyards. And while we experienced more than our fair share, and probably one of the top 2 or 4 communities in Massachusetts to have experienced widespread complaints, we're not alone. But we've looked at this more broadly. Middleborough has dealt with the air. Westminster has dealt with the PFAS or the forever compound issue. We started with the air complaints, and we began to look soon thereafter at what is this doing to our watershed? What is this doing to our down gradient sensitive receptors and our various coastal estuaries? Unfortunately, we presented Mass DEP with a lot of concern, even with testing data that we have taken. And what I now know as of about a week and a half ago, the only data to date that Mass DEP possesses, and that they haven't addressed an investigation of their own to look at what are the waters that come off of these sites doing to our environment. The planning board, as we know, you regulate development, you do site plan reviews, you look at stormwater control, and all of that is to protect the environment amongst some other balances. Well, Mass DEP has continued to avoid this situation. We're not in this petition and the accompanying draft regulations asking to be at the head of the pack with states that regulate composting. We're merely asking for parity with some of our coastal neighbors along the eastern seaboard, such as the state of Maryland and Long Island. And I even know that, when I've done some research, even Alabama, much further south than us, has regulations that have more depth to it than the provisions in Mass DEP's 310 CMR 1600 regulations. So that's really it in a real brief summary. I know you got a lot on the agenda. If anyone has any questions or would like more details, I am happy to answer that at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone on the board? Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, please.
Chris, it's Kevin Estes. Are the, you know, we're lay people here when it comes down to the detail that is put into the suggested changes. And it's difficult for us to understand, you know, while we understand the general concept, which I think I'll speak for myself and say I'm wholly behind. I just want to make sure that these regulations are not, you know, that they're somewhere that are reasonable, that have a good chance of getting passed. And so I'm asking, you know, what were the extent of the regulations that you are proposing that we sign on to? How were they founded? Are they measured up against other states, or can you talk to us how you came to the details of some of these regulations?
Thank you, sir. That's a great question. So what I did was I took the existing 310 CMR 1600 regulations, which creates the regulatory environment for composting to exist in Massachusetts at this time. I then shopped around. I even spoke to counterparts of Mass DEP in other states, such as Maryland and Long Island, where I found the most substantive regulations that were looking at protecting our drinking water, both private and public, as well as our coastal environment. And took those aspects that are protective and brought them into our existing the Commonwealth's existing 310 CMR 1600 regulations, which are those regulations that regulate composting in Massachusetts. Do I expect Mass DEP to embrace these regulations, wrap their arms around them, and approve them verbatim? No, I do not. They'll go through their own regulatory review with this petition, and a public meeting will be held. After that point, I think it's going to really depend upon where the sincerity lies with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, with deciding to address this issue. And really, you know, yeah, we're concerned about the coastal environment here in Dartmouth, but I believe I mentioned the Westminster situation, and I've got to look into that. That is an absolute horror show that could have been avoided or reduced substantially had Mass DEP implemented the controls that we're proposing. So with that being said, with Mass DEP and the EPA and the new coming federal administration so focused on these forever compounds, to look the other way from what we're proposing that would protect and prevent against PFAS and forever compounds is unimaginable. But these decisions lie with the state, and all we can do, in my opinion, is with this option with the 310 CMR2 regulations, which are those administrative regulations that I cited earlier that allow us to petition DEP, that'll force our petition letter and our draft regulations to a public discussion, to put DEP in the situation to talk about this in the public lens rather than through emails that they do not answer. I'm sorry, that might be a bit more and may not have answered you directly, but that's the best I can do. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer. Or if I can try to provide clarity on my response to you, Mr. Estes, happy to.
Just as a follow-up, if the board chooses to sign the request that you've attached to our file today, beyond just signing it, what could we do, and also the citizens of Dartmouth do to help this process along?
Thank you. Well, I think, you know, if the planning board votes to sign, then the petition gets submitted to Mass DEP. And having a petition signed by all these various land use divisions and the executive branch of the town of Dartmouth is quite substantive. I'm unaware of any approach by any other community to petition Mass DEP in the same manner. Most recently, the only approach to petitioning DEP under these regulations has been by the Conservation Law Foundation. So we're, I guess, going into uncharted territory with this. And I would say, let's, at this point in time, let this play out. And I know that additionally, that the Senator's office, Senator Montigny, has been having conversations with the administration at DEP about holding a meeting with Dartmouth officials. And in my conversations with the Senator's office, that, you know, they're aware of this and they have said, you know, this needs to co-occur. One doesn't need to wait for the other. So I think at this point, let's let these two matters play out. If the Senator can arrange a meeting earlier, I'd rather have a productive meeting and see this resolved amicably and keep this petition in our back pocket. So my goal would be is to submit the petition shortly after the new year, the second, you know, whatever, I think it'd be around the 6th, which is a Monday, which would give the Senator's office time to hopefully get those dates from DEP. And, you know, if the town feels as though that they're working with us and they're going to address our concerns, let's not create work for them. If they will truly and sincerely listen to us and insert our concerns with protecting our drinking water and environment into their draft regulations that we know have been sitting on their desk since the fall of 2022, because it was mentioned in a public meeting that they didn't want to change these regulations during the outgoing administration. They wanted to wait for the new incoming governor. So I would just ask that, you know, let's let these processes either occur individually with the Senator, or we let them go side by side if they're too slow in addressing the Senator's concern and submit the petition shortly after the 1st of the year.
Understood. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for
Sure.
Chris.
Go right ahead, Margaret.
Hi, Chris. Chris, there must be other communities that are going through, have realized that this is a problem. You must have talked to some other communities that have this as a problem. Yes? No?
That is correct, Mrs. Sweet. I spoke to individuals in Northborough. I attended a public hearing many years ago, pre-COVID, in Northborough about the agricultural regulations for composting. I spoke to officials at both the Board of Health and the town manager at the time in Northborough. Spoke with officials in Middleborough. I've also done my research and seen, you know, that Middleborough's had problems, and somewhere in the Shrewsbury area, there was a serious situation that ended up with the AG getting involved and criminal charges. So that's why I said before, we're either in the top 2 or 4. I can't remember which. I don't want to, you know, judge our plight against that of another. But if I think about looking at news headlines and talking to counterparts in other municipalities, we're in the top few. And I would say it's probably Westminster is certainly the top. And I think we're next.
Wow. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I just make a comment?
Yes, go right ahead.
Good evening, Chris. Nick Cyclopatis here. I just want to chime in and say that I applaud your effort and reassure you that I'm behind your effort and the concept. Far too many people are concerned about the microplastics that they're buying and or the contaminants in their food in the purchasing and acquisition process and in the consumption process, and there's nearly no attention in the disposal thereof. So, and it's cyclical. So I'm on board with your effort, and I look forward to seeing this through and following your footsteps.
Thank you.
Very good.
And if I may,
Yes, go right ahead.
so the one thing I just would like to just add one more thing. I believe that given Dartmouth's uniqueness as a municipality, 60 square miles, our elongated length, and, you know, some vast land areas that are, workable land, but then, they really become, with the cost of development, they're becoming more and more undevelopable. They're not near any public utilities. To get to the good land, it just requires too many linear feet of road. So with that being said, being between two large cities, even if we see, one composting operation lose its licensing by the state, it doesn't mean that it's a forever ban. So as long as these regulations remain, even if, we're to see someone removed for a short while, I remain concerned that the uniquenesses of our large land masses by single landowners in these hard to develop areas will forever expose us to future potential sites to come back in. So, I don't look at this as, the licensing on the individuals. I look at this as the regulations in their current state that are not protective enough to prevent harm to Dartmouth, and also looking at it as, let's prevent harm in the future. So as in the future, when we begin to start addressing whether it's sewer extensions, innovative alternative septic systems, advanced waste, stormwater, that we're not finding all of this being erased because of someone in the backwoods keeping up organics with high concentrations of nutrients in the leachate running off into the wetlands and the groundwater. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, a comment for me, if I can.
Yes, go right ahead.
So I did have the opportunity to go through the information as in depth as I could. I mean, there is a lot of information, a lot of technical detail in what's being proposed. I'll just say this, from what I could ascertain objectively, I think this proposal is in the best interest of the town. From one lens, also believe that from a different lens, nothing that's being proposed is going to compromise the work that this board has to make. And if anything, it'll just lead us on a path to a more sustainable future across the board. So I will absolutely 100% endorse this effort.
Very good. So I believe we should, I would ask for a motion and a second to endorse this plan.
I move that we endorse the plan as proposed by Chris Michaud, and sign the attached letter.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion by Kevin Estes, second by Helio Rosa, all in favor. Kevin Estes,
Yes.
Helio Rosa,
Yes.
Margaret Sweet,
Yes,
Nick Cyclepatis,
Yes.
Kevin Mello, yes. Very good. We will get that letter signed and get that to your office, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the planning board, for having me and discussing this.
thank
Greatly-
you, Chris.
Thank you.
Chris.
Thank you.
Okay, so next on our agenda is a continued public hearing for a special permit of 413 State Road, continued from 11/4. Ross or John?
I can take it.
All right,
So just a reminder, this was a special permit for a reduction in parking for a proposed 2-unit residential apartment building and hair salon located at 413 State Road, which is map 166, lot 134. It's in the general residence district. And according to the narrative, the applicant is proposing to renovate an existing 3-family residential structure and a 3-car garage. The proposed renovations will convert the existing building layout to a proposed hair salon and 2-unit apartment. The salon will be open Monday to Friday, 8 to 8. It will be appointment only. I'm not sure. I think it depends on waivers on the site plan review, whether or not this special permit would be required still at this point. That was my last correspondence with the engineer, who I believe is on the call.
Yeah, Ross. Yep. So the site plan is contingent on the waivers being approved. I could go through the site plan if you guys would like. I think the last go around, we were waiting on DPW and the stormwater, which we got approval this morning, on the stormwater. I can bring up the plan. I could go through the waiver list. The last time, we did go through there were no comments, so, I'll take the lead on any way you would like. Ross, just to, clarify the hours of operations, that must have been a typo. It's 7 AM to 10 PM. So I think that was a typo on my end.
Okay, thank you.
I think that a quick refresher of your waivers that you're requesting, Peter, would be best for the board before we take any motions and votes.
Okay, just gonna request to share my screen and I'll bring up the cover sheet and I'll have the plan up in case you guys have any questions.
Yes, go right ahead. DCTV might have to help you with that.
I think, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
All right, so the 6 waivers that we're looking for is waiver for it's section 3.C.2, the required setbacks from property lines and streets. The requirement is 10. We're providing 5.5 feet along the easterly property line and 2.5 feet from the Summit Ave to accommodate for the required parking spots. And that requirement was, I mean, that 2.5 foot offset was to accommodate the parking, the employee park, the 3 additional employee parking spots that sort of came up after the fact, where the neighbors sort of wanted to see the 3 alternative spots be incorporated. The applicant made some modifications and moved the accessible ramp from that side of the property and moved it to the westerly side, and rerouted the ADA compliancy that way to accommodate the 3 parking spots where he heard the neighbors and it is congested. So that was why we're asking it for 2.5 on that side. The waiver 2 is 3D 1, which was the parking stall dimensional. Your requirements are 10 by 20. Due to the small site, we're providing 9 by 20s. So we're asking for a foot relief in the parking stalls. Waiver 3 was, excuse me, was section 3D.2. This is the required 2-way drive, 24 feet wide. We're only providing 20-foot drive, which is adequate. And the restriction there was to try to maintain the clearance from the intersection. Waiver 4 was 3.M.5. This is the required curb cut. The maximum width is 30 feet. We're providing 54.5, and this is due to the existing garages. So it's again, existing non-conforming lot with standards that just can't meet because they're existing non-conforming. The 5th is the 3.M.6, the traffic impact statement. And then 6 was the some landscaping, 4C screening, 4D tree standards, and 4E the perimeter landscaping, and 4F which was the state road tree requirements. So that was it. The proposed site, just so everyone has a refresher. So to the north, we have State Road. To the east, we have Summit Ave. Like I said in the brief description there, we did take the accessible ramp and we moved it to the westerly property line, which better suits the property, and it allows us to put the 3 additional employee parking spots up in this corner and allow everyone to have ample parking out back. plus the the 3-bay garage, for additional parking. We, I don't think anything changed from the drainage aspect. We worked with DPW to address some of the concerns, and the concerns were really, modeling, the system itself. I want to say thank you to those guys over there for working with us and getting a lot of the answers resolved in a timely manner. So that was one thing. And then the fire suppression line, the DPW had a couple of comments on how far from the existing hydrant they wanted to see it. So it was a minimum of 3 feet. We were showing about 2 feet. So in working with Paul and those guys at DPW, we resolved stormwater and some of the utility connections here. Moving on to what's this? The utility plant. Again, we're maintaining the existing services. We're bringing in a new fire alarm, and we're bringing in a new 1-inch water service to the facility. The existing one today is a 1-inch to the gate valve, and then the previous owner only had a 3/4-inch line coming in. So the applicant decided to upgrade it to a 1-inch. The planting schedule has not changed. We do have the bioretention area, the rain garden, all that hasn't changed. None of the landscaping has changed since you've seen it. And then I don't know if you guys want me to run through the details or not, but this is the 2 infiltration systems that are being proposed on the site. The larger one that you see at the bottom is for the parking lot itself. The one up top is for will be located underneath the employee parking lot to capture that water coming down the site drive. And then we have the standards that the town has. We have a bike rack detail, the accessible parking requirements for signs and striping. We do have the retaining wall and the trench drain and the planting details, erosion control details. And this is all with the new fire line and infiltration systems. The erosion control, we do have erosion control on the south side, the westerly side, and on the front, and a portion of Summit Ave on the east. DPW did ask for an additional row of wattles to be installed at the toe of slope once construction's done to keep the bioretention area clean from any sediment over time until the grass is established and stable. And at that point, DPW will allow the applicant to remove them once grass is stabilized the area. The lighting hasn't changed. The only thing that did come up from the DPW was to have the new layout put in. We have the 3 parking spots laid in here. And as you can see, it hasn't really changed from the previous layout. Lighting, all the lighting is still the same. It's just the base mapping underneath has been updated. Here's some photometrics just to show the overall site lit up. Which again hasn't changed from the other one. We still have the same amount of lights, and the cut sheets of the wall pack that we're proposing.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Any questions from the board in particular about the waivers, or?
I got a comment if I can. This pertains to the public hearing, which has to do with the special permit required because of the parking as originally proposed. So we're in a quandary because if we require the 13 parking spaces, then we require a waiver because of the setback. If we, I believe, if we agree that the 13 spaces as proposed are okay, then we do not need the special permit anymore, and it can be withdrawn. So understanding that, there is that additional waiver because of the setback. Now, having debated the merits of the waivers in this project, what I can offer is that I believe the plan that now shows the 13 spaces is a marked improvement on what was originally proposed with the 10 spaces, even though it casts an additional burden because of the setback. Taking into account our own concerns as a board, taking into account the concerns of our neighbors, where parking, I think, was demonstrated to be of higher concern, I think the conditions are there, in my opinion, to accept the 13 spaces with the reduced setback, thus permitting the applicant to withdraw the need for the special permit, which would allow us to close out this public hearing. Ross or Kevin, do I have it right or wrong?
Ross,
That's-
I'll,
Yeah, that's correct. And John, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe if the site plan was approved with the requested waivers, then the applicant would be able to withdraw the special permit without prejudice and thus, no longer need it, essentially.
Correct. I would recommend that if that is the board's direction, that you vote on the site plan with the stated waivers. The applicant then requests the special permit be withdrawn without prejudice, and the board then takes a vote to allow that withdrawal.
Thank you, John.
So as
okay,
it pertains to the site plan review, I am prepared to accept the 13 parking spaces and the waiver for the setback. I think the parking spaces are a benefit and a value add more than the reduction in the setback.
thank you. I do have one question, Peter. On your waivers, the last one that you've listed, the trees on State Road. Can you bring up your plant? Do you have your landscape plan? Are you there, Peter?
Yep, I'm here. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Did the share screen go away?
It did, yes.
Sorry.
Okay, so your last waiver is to waive all plantings on the state road.
Yeah, I think the state roads are actually within the roadway. They're not on the, I don't have the bylaw in front of me. But the way I read it was tree landscaping along Route 6 itself.
So I don't see any plants in the front of this building. Are you proposing no shrubbery, no greenscape whatsoever?
So what we're proposing is to reestablish the lawn itself. We do have screening here of the parking spots. But I think anything up in here, I don't know if it would survive with the salting in the winters. So that's why we didn't propose anything, Kevin.
Okay,
But the Route 6 part, I believe that the treescapes are along Route 6 themselves. And there's a large water main through here. There's a lot of utilities in the sidewalk now. Let's see if I can go into the existing conditions. No. You can see it, but there is a water gate here. There are a bunch of utilities in here.
Yes, there is a sidewalk, but it seems to be, there was a curb cut in the past that
Correct.
would have given you some parking spots that we chose not to for safety reasons in the front
Correct.
building. But I guess that, well, I don't even know, north, the west side of it there.
It's right here.
Yeah, but if you come onto your property, right, see the set of stairs, the opposite side of the parking lot.
Here.
There you go. Yep. You got a large green area there. Can't we get a tree or two planted in
So-
that area, or?
So, the applicant's actually fencing this off. This set of stairs is actually for this apartment. So
Okay.
we were sort of trying to keep this wide open so that tenants could utilize, maybe have a barbecue in the area so they could
Okay,
sort of have a recreational area. So the unit 1 and unit 2, they would come out here and utilize this for a family event or some green space. That's why we're fencing it off and sort of keeping it in that way, just wide open grass space.
okay. That explains it to me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else on the board? Any questions or comments? Okay, so Ross, if we simply do nothing at this time, we go on to our next public hearing continuance, and then we get down to site plan review for this site. If we vote, if we have a motion in a second and we vote to approve the site plan review,
Mhm.
then we would close out this public hearing, or would we be closing out the public hearing, withdrawing it? Maybe you or John, just a little help on how to do this properly.
Yeah, I would
Does that
recommend
seem-
if it is the board's opinion that the waivers are warranted, then you should vote on those waivers, approve the site plan, and then move on to the public hearing, which would you would essentially be voting to allow the withdrawal, which I assume the applicant would be making that request once the site plan is approved.
Okay, all right, thank you, John. Okay, so if the board is in agreement, we should move on to agenda item number 3 at this time, which is a continued public hearing for a special permit for 411 Fons Corner Road. Okay. I'm not hearing any opposition.
I
That's
agree.
State Road, Kevin, 413 State Road.
No, agenda item is 411 Fons Corner Road. Agenda item number 3, Margaret, on
Oh,
your,
I'm sorry, you moved to 3. Okay,
we are going to simply move on to number 3.
okay.
Then we will vote on this under site plan review, which is
Oh, okay. I'm
administrative.
sorry. All right,
That's okay. Administrative 2. And then we'll come back, then
Okay.
we will withdraw. So on to agenda item number 3, which is the continued public hearing.
Kevin, if I may, real quick.
Yes,
I just want to put into the record that the application for the special permit for 696 Dartmouth Street was requested to be granted an extension. Both the special permit and the site plan review on this agenda were requested by the applicant via email that I can forward to you all tomorrow.
and Ross, we are well within our time frame, so we don't actually have to vote to do an extension for those.
The special permit, I think can just be continued, but the site plan review, I would vote an extension for that. Once we get down to that. But for the public hearing, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that can just be opened and then continued.
Okay, so we can't just skip over it. We have to open it. Okay, Agenda item number 2
Yeah,
under public hearing.
The only thing I would say, Mr. Chair, and to you, Ross, is just specify what the request was until, the continuance was until what, your next meeting or a certain date? Just put that into the record if you have that.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this is Gary. I don't know where we are on the agenda, but I have Irene Rose here. She had gotten a notice of the Zoom meeting, but she doesn't have a computer. So she's been waiting a little bit. I don't know if, where you are, but she's here. Has that already been taken up or?
Regarding what property?
Regarding 411 Fons Corner Road.
That's next.
We
Oh, okay. So I have her logged into my computer. Do you mind if she uses this computer to?
Certainly not. No,
Okay, good.
that's okay with us.
You can have
So
a seat.
we just have to do a quick cleanup on 696 Dartmouth Street, and then we'll be moving on to 411.
Need a motion to open that public hearing, Kevin?
We need a motion to let's see, motion. Radio Plan Board, public hearing.
I don't believe you've opened this yet because you just received the request. Isn't that correct, Ross?
Yep. It's not opened yet. It's been advertised. It hasn't been opened yet at this point, and they requested a continuance.
So
I
we
believe to
need-
the next meeting.
So we need a motion to recess the planning board's regular meeting of December 16th, 2024, and open a public hearing regarding 696 Dartmouth Street.
Motion made to recess the December 16th planning board meeting, and motion made to open the public hearing regarding 696 Dartmouth Street.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Nick Cyclepatis, second by Helio Rosa. All in favor, Nick Cyclepatis,
Yes.
Helio Rosa,
Yes.
Myra Sweet,
Yes,
Kevin Estes,
Yes.
Kevin Mello, yes.
And now we need
Okay.
a motion to continue it.
So now, as mentioned, the special permit for 696 Dartmouth Street has asked to be continued. Lately, we've been saying to a time in the future, and to not a set agenda item. We're not on any timeline, like deadlines on this one.
Yeah, the only reason why you should specify a date though is if there are any abutters present, so they know when to log on to your next meeting. So it always should be continued to a date certain, and if that time it's not ready to move forward, then you just have to continue it again. It's just
Okay.
out of fairness to abutters.
Okay, so Ross, January 6th?
That's correct. January 6th would be the next meeting to continue it to, yes.
Okay, so I need a motion to continue this to January 6th.
Motion made.
Motion made by Nick Cyclepatis. Do I have a
Second.
second? Second
Second.
by Margaret Sweet. All in favor, Nick Cyclepatis,
Yes.
Margaret Sweet,
yes,
Kevin Estes,
Yes.
Helio Rosa,
Yes.
Kevin Mello, yes. Okay. We are still in a public hearing, so the next item under public hearing for us is the application for a special permit, 411 Fons Corner Road. John, are you the one that's been taking lead on this one?
I can read this in.
Ross, okay,
Yep.
bring us up to speed.
Okay, so this hearing concerns an application for a special permit for a proposed car dealership located at 411 Fons Corner Road, Assessor's Map 63, Lot 12, brought forth by Solely Engineering. This is being reviewed currently under both special permit and site plan review applications, but today we are only addressing the special permit request for a reduction in parking. Per Article 24, which is for site plan review of the Dartmouth zoning bylaw, motor vehicle sales require one parking space per 150 square feet of gross floor area. Per Article 24, a special permit can reduce the parking requirement by up to half if one of the following conditions are met. One, the parking spaces could be built on site, but the proposed use is such that it can be demonstrated that the full number is not needed. 2, the mix of uses is such that parking demand is at different times, which must be demonstrated. 3, the reduction in spaces will minimize stormwater runoff in an area experiencing flooding or water quality deterioration. Or 4, the reduction in spaces will benefit the neighborhood by providing additional green space as a buffer to nearby homes and would reduce the impact of parking vehicles. I also felt it was important to list the definition of gross floor area as pertaining to Article 24, which is the sum of the area of all stories of a building measured from the exterior faces of the exterior walls or from the center line of walls separating two buildings, including any floor area below grade when used for office, business, storage, or other purposes, but excluding any area used exclusively for heating, air conditioning, or other mechanical equipment, and excluding floor area intended or designed for accessory off-street parking. I know at the time that I wrote this report, the demonstration plan and the amount of square footage for this car dealership has changed. So at this point, I will turn it over to the engineers who made me aware of these revisions. And I let them know that, you know, with it being pretty late notice, they may just be able to present today. Ultimately, that's up to the board, but they have been made aware of that. And at this point, I'll turn it over to them.
Very good, thank you.
Thank
Hi,
you.
good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, you
Yes,
All right, perfect. May I share my screen, then I'll introduce myself?
yes, please.
Okay. Here's share. Okay. All right, can everybody see that?
Yes,
All right. For the record, my name is Casey Birch. I am a project manager with Soli Engineering, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant, PRM Auto Holdings, LLC, to discuss the application for special permit, PSP-24-7, for the proposed auto dealership located at 411 Fons Corner Road. With me tonight on the call, I have Daniel Duquette, who's the general manager for Audi and Volkswagen. I believe David Rosenberg is on, and he's the president of DSR Motor Group, and our permitting consultant, Joseph Braga, is on as well. And as Ross mentioned, I'm going to give a brief presentation, kind of talking about the entire site first, but my more detailed presentation will be during the site plan review meeting, which hopefully will be on January 6th. We are currently in the process of going through comments with DPW and the town planner, and we're getting those wrapped up, and hopefully we'll have them in soon. So tonight I'm just going to focus on the special permit request regarding parking. So just quick existing conditions. The property at 411 Fons Corner Road, it's 18 acres. It extends approximately 3,400 linear feet east off of Fons Corner Road, so it is a long, narrow property. It's located in the industrial LI and office industrial OI zoning district. The property does get bisected by a brook here with associated wetlands. It is currently improved with an existing auto dealership shop and a cell tower actually on the west side here. So here's the cell tower location. Can you see my mouse? Oh no.
yes,
Okay. And here's the existing auto dealership. The east side of the brook is wooded and undeveloped currently. So as you can see, the property keeps going, and we had to put on several viewports. Right. You may hear my kids too. I apologize. I am at home. So the project proposes a 34,331 square foot car dealership with associated parking, side drives, auto carrier loading spaces, stormwater management measures, utilities, and landscaping improvements. As you can see here, the project is proposed mainly on the first half of the property, with the building situated on the west side of the brook and additional parking and auto carrier loading areas on the east side of the brook. The rest of the property will remain undeveloped and wooded here. Access to the western portion of the property will be off Fons Corner. That we have two side drives, full movement side drives here and here. And access off the eastern side of the brook where the auto carrier loading spaces are will be off of the property of 20 Ventura Drive with a side drive connecting into the existing pavement there. Since the submission back in November, like I said, we've been working through some comments provided by the town planner and DPW. We've also been working through some tenant-specific requests. Last Friday, we did submit revised material to address some of these comments and recommendations, specifically in regards to the parking. And I wanted to put the two layouts together so it'd be easier to compare. The proposed dealership building has been revised because we removed the mezzanine level, which was not required anymore, which dropped the square footage of 39,129 gross floor area, which we originally submitted, to an area of 34,331 square feet. We also removed the ADA spaces down to here with a red right here. And then we removed the EV charging and ready EV charging spaces to the rear of the building. That way to leave more standard spaces directly in front. We also made some minor modifications to the auto carrier loading area to the east of the brook. We were originally showing a total of 269 auto carrier loading spaces. And we modified the area to include 33 parking spaces, 10 by 20s for use of employees, which reduced this total from 269 to 233. So we have 33 employee spaces here and then 233 auto carrier loading spaces in the rear here. This is just a breakdown of the parking table. The original plan set had a total of loading summary of 361 auto carrier loading spaces and a total standard parking count of 50 spaces. The revised material includes 324 auto carrier loading spaces with a total of 83 standard parking spaces. 50 are still remaining in the eastern portion of the site, and then the 33 employees in the western part of, vice versa, in the eastern portion, and then the 50 where the building is. And I want to go into how we kind of justified the parking count on this. So let me go to. So to calculate the total parking, we took the total area of the building, which is now 34,331 square feet, as I previously mentioned. We then removed the area occupied by vehicles in this, specifically in the service portion of the building. So there are 21 service bays, which is all right here. And then there are 12 queuing cars. So these are the cars that are brought in and they wait in this location for the service bays. So we took that area out of the 34,331 to get a total gross floor area for patron use, we'll say, of 20 and employee use for 24,481 square feet. So we took that number. We divided that number by 150 square feet, and that gave us 164 parking spaces, which obviously, I don't know how many people are familiar with dealerships, but that is a lot of spaces for any car dealership. So we are requesting to half that for a requirement of 82 spaces, which we are providing 83 spaces. Whoops, 83 spaces. So. And that's essentially my spiel about the parking and how we got there, and kind of just wanted to get the board's opinion and see if they agree with our method, and see if we can get this special permit for half the spaces.
Okay. Thank you for your explanation. first, when we do public, this is a public hearing, so I would ask, before I ask for board input, I would ask for public input, either for or against. And I know we had somebody that was with Gary. Mrs. Rose, are you there?
Can you hear them, Kevin?
Hi, yes, there you are. Now I can hear you. You'd like to speak in support of this or in opposition of this?
No, we're in support of it,
Okay,
my mother and I.
okay, so Mrs. Rose, go ahead. What did you have to say? Do you have something to ask us?
No, that's
Yeah, I
you.
know.
Do you have anything to ask?
Not really.
Okay, all right then. Very good. I will ask if anyone else from the public has any questions. If not, we'll move to questions from the board. DCTV, do you see anyone else? I'm not seeing any hands raised or anyone asking any questions from the public.
Mr. Chair, I do not see anybody either.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on to the board. Board questions? Anyone have any questions for the engineers?
I just have a quick question. It's a curiosity. Nick Cyclepatis here. The development of the property will get how close to the cell tower that's visible?
I believe, let me just check real quick. I believe is 10 feet from the fence. Is in it, that's the curb line.
So that would be of the westerly facing fence of the cell tower, correct?
Yes. No, the east side is the closest where the curb is. The west side has more than 20 feet from that curb. And then we do have a paved entrance into the cell tower, which is obviously right up against the fence.
And then forgive me if this is an inaccurate statement or question, but it seems like there are vehicles, scrap vehicles, further east of the cell tower. That's why I asked the question, will that part of the property be cared for, and will those old vehicles be removed in the process as well, or is that kind of just junk that's going to remain?
No, all this property will be completely cleaned. The LOD actually runs along the wetland line too. So that'll all be new earthwork, new grades, new slopes. This is a fill condition site, so yeah, that's all. Everything will be removed.
So scrap and garbage and remaining metals and discharging materials and so on beyond the cell tower, away from the development of the site, will also be removed and managed.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I can?
Yes, please, Healer.
So a couple of questions. I guess I'll open a statement here. I'm favorable to reviewing the reduction in parking. Providing impervious surface for the sake of providing impervious surface, I don't think is beneficial to the town. That being said, a couple of requests. I think for example, I'm reviewing site plan 2.11. In one of the presentations, it was indicated the number of parking spaces that are within the building. I think as a matter of record, it would be important to show that those spaces as part of any plan that is showing proposed parking. Right now, as an example, 2.11 just shows the building grayed out. I think as a matter of record, we should show the parking spaces that are being proposed as provided within the building. That's one. Two, it also would be beneficial for a matter of record if we're looking to reduce the amount of square footage that the calculation is based on. I think there should be a way to demonstrate that on the floor plan, maybe shade the building area that is being proposed as part of the record square footage in one color, maybe shade it in a different color. For our consideration, we should have that pretty clearly spelled out graphically so that we're not having to, decipher certain information. And I think for me, the other piece, and I don't know if this is possible, but is there evidence-based practice at another dealer that would demonstrate that ultimately the parking is not used or required?
Yeah, we have Danny and David on on the meeting as well, if they wanted to chime in and kind of, David, I know you mentioned how many cars come for service and a typical one of these typical dealerships at this square footage, and how many employees, and how, if you want to go over that and kind of give the board some clarity on that, what you've seen.
Casey, I do not, this is Dan, I'm the general manager and operating partner. I don't see David in this meeting, Casey, but
I did earlier. I apologize if he dropped off.
Yeah.
When during the other meetings, I did see him in the crowd.
Yeah, so what will happen is people will pull in for service. They won't park in the lot. They'll pull in through the service drive. And those appointments are all scheduled out. And any service that requires more than an hour, they will leave in a loaner car, which will be in the service drive for them to leave in. So on the service side, nobody parks outside. When the car is completed, they come back in. They some of them pick them up in the service drive, some of them pick them up on the outside. On the retail side, if we have 10 customers a day, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. It's one of the lowest retail businesses for parking requirements out there. I mean, we would love to see more than 10 customers a day, but that's highly unlikely. We probably average 5 where we are right now.
So I think to add to that statement, in the same way that we would conduct, or a traffic study would be conduct on the impact of traffic to public roads, is there a study, is there an analysis that can be conducted on other owned dealers that would demonstrate that, based on the study, traffic counts, car counts, customer counts, that would validate that indeed is the case? Not that we're doubting what you're presenting, but is there a way to document with some data that truly is the case for us to consider?
Yes, I believe we can do that. And unfortunately, David is not in the meeting, but yeah, there was something we can put together for you.
I feel for us to consider that reduction, because you're reducing to almost half. We want to demonstrate that that the data validates what I think perception-wise we feel, but I would feel more comfortable if there was data to support what we all feel, back of our neck, that this is going to be the case. Because like I said, when my opening statement, parking for parking's sake and impervious surface, I don't see the value of that. But in order for this board to make that determination, it would be helpful to have that data.
Sure. And that data exists, so we can put that together.
Thank you. That's all for me.
Thank you, Helio. One question I did have, and I'm surprised it doesn't come up on this. It's been a while since I've done a car lot of this magnitude. What's your license size going to be? How many cars will you be licensed to sell on the property?
That's a great question.
Okay, because to me, it seems like that's what our parking regulations should be citing. If you have a license for 200 cars on your lot, it should be 200 plus.
Yeah, I think the answer would be is how many display spaces do we have? So,
well, I mean, I know we ran into problems with other cars, including storage, that had a license of, let's just say, 400 cars. And they were creating a public nuisance. And when we went out and counted, they actually had over 500 cars on the lot. So your license will state a maximum number of vehicles that you can have on your lot at any time.
Yeah,
So it to me, that is the most important number of all, because we know about employees, we know about customers, but really it's how many cars. If you're going to be allowed to have 500 cars on this lot at any given time, I'm less likely to say, okay, let's reduce parking.
yeah. So with Audi, Audi is a very low volume brand. It's a luxury brand. Volkswagen is more of a volume, but we will not exceed the amount of display spaces and showroom spaces. So if we have 200 display spaces and we have 6 showroom spaces, then it'll be 206. So whatever the spaces are that are shown for display and for the showroom will be all we would want.
So that number is
Okay.
324 for the auto carrier loading spaces and 83 for the
Which is-
standard
which is-
parking spaces.
We will never have that amount of cars in that lot, but that is the number.
Yeah, that's quite an inventory,
Yeah,
324.
that's a lot of money to carry a floor plan on.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
yes.
With all due respect to the project and their request, I just want to ask a few questions to you and our board. If this 30 some odd thousand square feet for some reason was available for lease in 24, 36 months, God forbid, nothing personal, and it became a surgery center and they did 176 procedures a day, no big deal. But if it was for lease and New England Allergy went there and they had 30,000 square feet, I guarantee you they're going to see 3,000 patients a day. So what does this mean to the future use of this building and the property, and or is this request associated with a restricted use to protect the interest of the town in the future? It's a question. I'm not making a claim by any means.
No, that would trigger site plan review as a change of use.
Yeah, this is a $20 million project. That building is specific to the car industry. And yeah, we have no intention of leasing this for any other use.
Fair.
No, but to answer your question, any change of use would trigger site plan review.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions at this time?
Mr. Chairman, just one quick,
Yes.
almost a procedural question. We're being asked to talk about this small part of a total application and vote on it. Not really knowing at the end of the day what the total package is. Does it make sense to hold off and decide everything when we have a full presentation of everything that's going to take place on this parcel? Or is there a big value to doing this today?
So the special permit is to give them permission to do this. Site
Right.
plan to review will be for how to do it. So as far as the benefit, I'm going to ask John if you're listening. Could
I
you
think
address that?
yeah, I think the benefit is to the applicant to at least give them an indication. If you're not comfortable with voting as such, at least everybody nodding in the same direction, I believe would be helpful. I don't want to speak for the applicant and his representatives, but I would imagine that's what they are after. So then when they get to the nuts and bolts of the site plan review design, they know exactly what to design it towards.
Understood. Thanks.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to just share that I understand the concept and what they're proposing, and I understand and agree that they are typically lower volume retail dealerships than other brands. So I understand where they're coming from, and I look forward to working with them.
Thank you.
Okay. So we are in a public hearing. And we need to know, are we going to continue the public hearing, or are we going to vote on the public hearing? And at our next meeting, we do the site plan review for the plan. That's the direction that this board must, one of two ways to move forward.
I'd like to make a motion that we vote on the public hearing.
Okay, So you'd like to make a motion to approve this
Correct.
special permit?
Correct.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve this. Actually, I believe we're gonna have to
Do we have to close the meeting first?
close out the public meeting, the public hearing, and then vote to approve the special permit. So I'll need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion made.
Motion made by Nick Cyclepatis. Do I have a second?
Second,
Second by Kevin Estes. All in favor? Nick Cyclepatis,
Yes.
Kevin Estes,
yes.
Margaret Sweet,
Yes,
Helio Rosa,
Yes.
Kevin Mello, yes. And now we would take a vote to approve the special permit. Or whatever the board decides.
I'll go back to my motion to approve the special permit as presented tonight and move on to site plan review.
I have a motion to approve the special permit for 411 Fons Corner Road. Do I have a second?
Second,
I have a motion by Nick Cyclepatis, second by Kevin Estes. All in favor, Nick Cyclepatis,
Yes.
Kevin Estes,
yes.
Margaret Sweet,
yes.
Helio Rosa,
No.
Kevin Mello, yes. Okay. Very good. We will see you soon for the site plan review.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Night.
Okay, we are on to administrative items. So we have site plan review for 413 State Road. Do I have a motion? This is from the public hearing that we just had regarding the two-family apartment in the hair salon. So what would you like to discuss? Anyone like to discuss?
Kevin, are we back?
Right.
Are we back in site plan review?
We are in site plan review, administrative item number 2 for 413 State Road. And any discussion?
I'd just like to reiterate my review that I have no issue with the waiver for the setback, given that we've provided the 13 parking spaces, which were important. Also don't have any objection to any of the other waivers being requested.
Okay. So without further discussion, we are at a standstill until I have a motion in a second, one way or another.
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan for 413
With the listing, with the
with the waivers requested
as listed.
as listed. Thank you.
I have a motion from Helio Rosa. Do I have a second?
Second,
Second by Kevin Estes. All in favor, Helio Rosa,
Yes.
Kevin Estes,
yes.
Margaret Sweet,
Yes,
Nick Cyclepatis,
Yes.
Kevin Mello, yes. Very good, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Happy holidays, everyone.
You too.
Likewise.
We
Did,
are now.
Did he make his, did,
Oh,
before
I
Peter
have to-
leaves?
Yep, I gotta do the special permit, sorry. Go ahead, Kevin.
Okay, actually, I guess it would be you. Do you have any requests for the board?
At this time, I request to withdraw without prejudice the special permit for 413 State Road.
Okay, we have a request. Do I have a motion in a second?
so moved.
I have a motion by Margaret Sweet,
Second.
second by Helio Rosa. All in favor, Margaret Sweet,
Yes,
Helio Rosa,
Yes.
Kevin Estes,
Yes,
Nick Cyclepatis,
Yes.
Kevin Mello, yes. All set. Now you're all set. Peter.
Yes, thank you. Enjoy the holidays.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, John. Administrative item number 3, site plan review, 696 Dartmouth Street. The applicant is seeking a continuance to January 6th.
Make a motion that we continue item number 3 administratively, 696 Dartmouth Street to January 6th meeting.
Motion made by Nick Cyclepatis. Do I have a second?
Second,
Second by Margaret Sweet. All in favor? Nick Cyclepatis,
Yes.
Margaret Sweet,
yes,
Kevin Estes,
Yes.
Helio Rosa,
Yes.
Kevin Mello, yes. Next item, number 4, site plan review for 481 Fons Corner Road.
Mr. Chairman, I have to recuse myself on this. I did last time too, 481.
Okay, very good, thank you. Ross,
Okay, so this was a continuance from a previous meeting, but just as a reminder, the site plan review application is for a proposed 24,947 square foot, 64 unit multi-family residential building located at 481 Fons Corner Road, Assessor's Map 63, Lot 11-17. There are 128 parking spaces required, as each unit requires 2 parking spaces. There are 128 parking spaces being proposed, 5 of which are proposed to be ADA compliant. This is located both in the office industrial and limited industrial zoning districts, as well as the Fons Corner overlay and marijuana overlay district. There are 2 proposed curb cut along the existing driveway. I believe at this time, at the right time of writing this report, at least, the applicant was still working with the Conservation Department as well as the DPW to work through a couple things with both departments. I believe they also have an application to amend an existing order of conditions with conservation and a file to do so. But I think that is being heard by the Conservation Commission tomorrow, December 17th. But the engineer, I believe I saw, is here. If they have any further comment on that.
For the record, Phil Cordero from Allen and Major Associates. The only comment is you're correct. We have been working with the Department of Public Works since our last meeting with the Planning Board. We've made significant progress with them that we're down to just the last few clarification notes and dimensional notes that Mr. Duarte sent over to us this morning. So we're very, very close to finishing it out with them. And as you indicated, Mr. Cuddy, we do have conservation tomorrow evening for the amended order of conditions that would substantiate this application. We wanted to make sure that we made an appearance in front of the planning board. We hadn't seen you for a minute just to get you an update as to where we were. Have Mr. Cuddy present the updated information to the board and then determine how the board would like to proceed with the application.
okay, very good, thank you.
Yes.
So we're looking at continuance to our January 6th meeting also. Is that sufficient time, or would it be our following meeting, January 27th?
Mr. Chair, that's more than sufficient time for us to complete. We didn't know, and I guess we would poll the board if the planning department has received an updated memorandum from Mr. Duarte at DPW, that the final few items perhaps are very minor in nature, that we can work with them to just resolve them and not come back in front of the planning board. If you wanted to vote on a conditional approval this evening, we would float that idea. Otherwise, we would request the continuance to January 6th.
Okay. Ross, John, are they minor enough, or does the board feel that they want to hear this in January?
Speaking for me, at least, I don't know if I can speak on behalf of conservation or DPW enough to know the nature of their comments and required revisions. I do know that, each department prefers to have enough time to review where they can encompass everything and also leave the applicant with response time. So whether or not that influences the date of continuance, that's about all I'd have to say.
Okay. So board, what would you like to do? Continue this?
Mr. Chair, can I make a comment?
Yes.
In the absence of a planner aside Ross and Ross's burden to date, I think it would be in the best interest of the office and the town that we continue it, as well as the applicant.
Okay,
Nick
Would you
took,
like to
Nick
make-
took the words out of my mouth.
okay. So would you like to make that a motion in a second?
Motion made for the reason stated that this is continued to January 6th.
Motion made by Nick Cyclepatis,
I'll second.
second by Helio Rosa. All in favor? Nick Cyclepatis,
Yes.
Helio Rosa,
Yes.
Kevin Estes,
Yes.
Kevin Mello, yes. All right, Phil, we'll
Thank-
see you in January.
We'll see you on the 6th. We'll wrap this up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have
Very
a good
good.
holiday.
Thank you.
You too.
Mr. Chairman, do you need anything further from me this evening?
No, I think we're good.
I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity. I see that you've hired a new planner and I wish you luck with that. Certainly, I'm welcome any questions that you may have or he may have during his transition. And I just wanted to wish everyone happy holidays.
And thank you for a job well done and filling in and getting us through this and helping Ross and the board.
Yes,
Thank
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 you,
you.
John.
Much.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Thanks.
Happy
Thank you.
holidays.
Thank you, John.
Oh, you're welcome. And Ross has done a phenomenal job. I hope you all recognize him for his efforts in this transition period. He's truly done a phenomenal job.
Thank you,
Agreed.
John.
Excellent. Thank you.
Take care.
Take care, Joe. Okay, number 5. Chapter 91 Waterways, 21 Old Jetty Road.
Okay, so this chapter 91 notification is for 21 Old Jetty Road, Assessor's Map 18, Lot 6-5. The proposed application is brought forward by Schneider, Davignon, and Leon Incorporated, and it proposes the installation of a 3-foot by 16-foot aluminum gangway, 8-foot by 16-foot timber floats, and 4 12-inch diameter timber float piles. There is a letter attached in your packet of a draft letter that would end up being sent as a part of this notification package, depending on how the board votes.
Ross, same letter that we've always
Yes.
sent.
Yes, it's just essentially notification of receipt, and that the board is okay with that, and that it encourages different aspects of the master plan if this plan does so.
Any questions?
I think it's straightforward, Mr. Chair. Looking at it, seems like there's a wooden gangway there, so I see it as an improvement overall.
Normally, I look for the signage about the high tide and low tide. People have the right to pass and repass. But it does look like this is over marshland, so a sign like that would encourage people to walk. They do have access stairs on either side.
Sign like that could put people at risk.
Yeah, it's going to be an invitation to walk over the marshland.
Right.
Okay. I have no questions. Do we have a motion?
Motion made to approve number 5 under administrative items, 21 Old Jetty Road, 16-foot gangway as stated.
Okay, motion made by Nick Cyclepatis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Kevin Estes. All in favor? Nick Cyclepatis,
Yes.
Kevin Estes,
Yes.
Myra Sweet,
Yes,
Helio Rosa,
Yes.
and Kevin Mello, yes. Thank you. Okay, number 6, appointment South Coast Bikeway Alliance. Ross, or,
Hi.
Yep.
hi,
Hi, my name is Sandra Maderas. I'm the president of the South Coast Bikeway Alliance. I did send through a presentation with Ross. Have you had a chance to look it over?
Well, I'm
Um,
familiar with it because I've seen you before at my other board meeting.
yes,
So I'm
and
familiar, I'm familiar with it.
it was in our package to be reviewed.
I am ready to do an overview presentation of the South Coast Bikeway if you are interested.
Yes, absolutely. Please do.
And I'll just need to share my screen, please.
Okay. There you go.
There we go. Like I said, my name is Sandy Maderas. I'm the president of the South Coast Bikeway Alliance. Thank you for this opportunity this evening. The South Coast Bikeway Alliance is an all-volunteer, nonprofit representative organization. We advocate for the bikeway in our South Coast region, from the Rhode Island border to the Cape Cod Canal, as shown on the yellow line on the map. We are thankful to have the support of SERPED, and they've provided us support since our inception in 2012. Sorry. There we go. Since then, we have promoted a vision to connect all of our region's 10 communities with an asset that enhances the quality of life in every community and makes towns desirable places to live, work, raise families, and start businesses. Bikeways serve health, recreation, and sustainable commuting. This vision began with the railroads in the 1800s, which sought to improve the industry, markets, and livelihoods of everyone in the region. By the early 20th century, transportation had changed, leaving the Commonwealth with a vast network of rights-of-way that were perfect for redevelopment into biking and walking assets in the communities where they exist. Fast forward to the 1990s, Fairhaven was among the first to convert its right-of-way to a walking and biking facility. This was followed by progress in Swansea and Somerset. Today, we have more completed sections: the Fall River Alfred J. Lima Quequechan River Rail Trail, the New Bedford Blue Lane at the southernmost tip of New Bedford along the Hurricane Barrier, and the Mattapoisett Shining Tides section of the Mattapoisett Rail Trail. The bikeway map shows completed sections and gaps. Starting in the west, sections are completed in Swansea, Somerset, Fall River, New Bedford, Fairhaven, and Mattapoisett. Engineering design is ongoing in Mattapoisett, Marion, and Wareham. We are excited to report that Westport, Dartmouth, and New Bedford are leaving the feasibility stage and collaborating on early design for an off-road pathway north of I-195. Additionally, the replacement of the New Bedford Fairhaven Bridge project will improve every aspect of travel across this necessary connector. New Bedford and Fairhaven are improving road routes in their communities, and Acushnet has formed a bike committee to promote biking and walking on its riverfront and its roads. It is typical for our bikeway towns to work independently. However, for a 10-mile roadside path, the South Coast Bikeway Alliance is actively bringing the three communities of Westport, Dartmouth, and New Bedford together to create the Northern Scenic Greenway. This greenway provides access to thousands of acres of protected lands and the headwaters of the Westport and Acushnet rivers. After significant work with SERPED in the concept and feasibility phase, the Closing the Gap feasibility study found the preferred route for the bikeway is a roadside shared use path along the Old Bedford, Old Fall River Road, and New Plainville roads. There is an opportunity to connect to the industrial park and New Bedford's Blue Lane. To advance to design, the three communities are combining community preservation funds and South Coast Bikeway Alliance funds to obtain a grant from Mass Trails. Dartmouth Town Meeting approved the Dartmouth Pathways Committee's application for Community Preservation Act funds to serve as matching funds for the Northern Scenic Greenway Mass Trails Grant application due February 1st, 2025. After Serped performed the feasibility studies, Bay Coast Bank had supported the project by funding detailed concept drawings of the Northern Scenic Greenway. As you can see, South Coast Bikeway's vision for a trail connecting communities between Providence and Cape Cod is alive and well, and that's because it is supported by the benefits that accrue to local communities. Fall River's Quikasham River Rail Trail functions as an urban oasis, and we look forward to extending their South Watuppa Pond Trail into Westport. Fall River is also working on connections north along the Taunton River and south to Newport. The Blue Lane in New Bedford South End features the Harbor Walk and Cove Walk and the planned River Walk along the Upper Harbor. The city's series of waterfront walkways just got a new commitment of $1.1 million in ARPA funds for design work. Mattapoisett's newly opened Shining Tides Mile is on its way to documenting 100,000 trail users in its first full year of operation. Summer traffic between Fairhaven and Mattapoisett on the rail trail has tripled from 17,000 to 53,000. These are people of all ages from all walks of life, locals taking their daily walks, families on a weekend outing, and seasoned cyclists putting in the miles. Separate multi-use paths are planned in Wareham, linking its spread out residential areas to schools, shopping, and the waterfront. The process is undeniably complicated, but the benefits are tremendous. Every completed mile offers access to healthy recreation, safe and environmentally friendly family activities, commuter options, and breathtaking natural beauty. Across the South Coast, the Bikeway will be showcasing some of the best our communities can offer to our visitors. The South Coast Bikeway is connecting residents and visitors to the beauty of and history of the South Coast. Already, bicycling is featured in at least 5 regional bike rides. This year, South Coast Bikeway's Pedal for the Path fundraiser ride followed the newly created Dartmouth Heritage Trail. The Northern Scenic Greenway is a pathway to explore thousands of acres of natural land, rivers, and waterways north of Route 195 in Westport, Dartmouth, and New Bedford, where experiences from quiet walks to vigorous mountain biking and trail runs can be enjoyed. The Bikeway fits well within Massachusetts' plans to grow outdoor recreation as an economic sector. Whether we are talking water, land, air, or ice, outdoor recreation contributed $13 billion to our state's economy. While marine recreation is strong in the South Coast area, land-based activities, especially hiking, biking, running, are growing leisure activities contributing to Massachusetts' rural areas become more and more attractive to businesses who may consider locating here because of the quality of life the facilities provide to families and employees. The South Coast Bikeway Alliance is engaged in supporting local communities to plan and build bikeways for the benefit of us all. We celebrate every success, and we have been pleased to have Serped as a partner. We are talking with the Comprehensive Planning Department about taking on an administrative role for our 2025 Mass Trails Grant, and we welcome the support of the Dartmouth Planning Board. That's the end. I know it was a lot.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any questions from the board?
It's an excellent project, Mr. Chairman, and they've been working on this for a very long time. And it really should be supported by the planning board because it is something that is much needed. Years and years ago, I talked to people about this. So I think it should be supported by our board.
Okay, so I guess the question for Ms. Medeiros is, how can we support it? How can we help you?
Well, in February February 1st, there'll be a deadline for the Mass Trails Grant application, so a letter of support would be wonderful. The more letters of support we have, it helps to weigh the success of the project, the application. Like I said in the presentation, we are hoping to have Serped manage the grant, which is a huge benefit for a 3-community project. At this point, I don't have any other line items specifically. We just sent off our draft Mass Trails grant to Serped with also a punch list of what we are expecting them to do for us. We will be hiring them, and we will require a point person in each of the 3 communities. And so we will be reaching out to each of the departments and to determine who the best point person is in the town of Dartmouth, whether it be Parks and Rec, planning, trying to think of the third one. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Okay, so then I think from the board, what we would need would be a motion and a second to have Ross draft in a letter of support so that we can all sign it, or I can sign it, whichever you desire as the chair, that we can get Ms. Maderas a letter of support for her deadline, by the deadline.
So
Motion
moved.
made. Oh, go ahead, Margaret.
No, I make a motion that we ask Ross to prepare a letter and sign it to promote her and the Bikeway Alliance.
Okay, we have a motion made by Margaret Sweet,
Second.
second by Nick Cyclepatis. All in favor, Margaret Sweet,
Yes,
Nick Cyclepatis,
Yes.
Kevin Estes. Kevin? Helio
Sorry.
Rosa?
Yes.
Okay. Helio Rosa?
As a user of some of these newly created bike paths, a resounding yes.
Okay, and Kevin Mello, yes. So, very good. We will, Ross will draft that letter and we will get it off to you.
And Ross, I can provide some more information to you so that for use when you're writing the letter, if that helps. Once our application is a little more formalized, it's pretty well on the way, but
Yeah,
do you have any questions?
that sounds great. The more information, the better.
Right.
Thank you.
Very much.
Excellent. Thank you, and thank you for everything you do.
Thank you. Happy
bye-bye.
hol-
Okay. Next, minutes of December 2nd, 2024.
Motion to accept and file.
I have a motion to accept and file by Kevin Estes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Helio Rosa. All in favor, Kevin Estes,
Yes.
Helio Rosa,
Yes.
Margaret Sweet,
yes.
Nick Cyclepatis.
Yes.
Kevin Mello, yes. Correspondence, City of Fall River. Acknowledge and file.
Motion made to acknowledge and file. Sorry, Kevin.
I have a motion by Kevin Estes, second by Nick Cyclepatis. All in favor, Kevin Estes,
Yes.
Nick Cyclepatis,
Yes.
Helio Rosa,
Yes.
Margaret Sweet,
Yes.
Kevin Mello, yes. Okay. For your information, old business, new business, zoning board of appeals. Any questions on their decisions or legal ads? Okay. Subcommittee reports. Did anyone meet?
I did, Mr. Chairman, with Community Preservation Committee on the 12th of December. And we basically went over some funding notices, needs and assessment. We are having 22, I believe it's 22 new properties added to the historic building inventory that we have in town. And we also had some review of the dog park that is still trying to get going. There has been some problems with it, but hopefully next year it'll be up and running. We also discussed the Mendes Montero, and that's the 10 units over off of State Road, which is going along, and it seems to be no problems, thank you, with that. And also we had some updates with the open space and the agricultural preservation fund. So we're working really diligently to do a lot with the agricultural preservation fund and funding them with monies to keep our local farms alive and well, and to promote purchasing farms that we can. And that's about it.
Okay. I have a soils board meeting on January, I'm thinking it's January 7th, the day after our next meeting. That's all I have for subcommittee reports. Ross, planners report, ADU. Were you able to sit in today on the webinar?
I was. I
Okay.
was.
I was there too, so good.
Oh, good, good. I found it to be pretty informative. I think they're certainly getting closer to getting more clarity for, you know, the different cities and towns in Massachusetts. I took some notes during the slides as fast as I could. They have the slides available. I was thinking I could send those out to you tomorrow, because that webinar was recorded. But in short, one of the things that they came out with was the definition of a protected use ADU, protected use being within this new state law. The definition was an attached or detached ADU located or proposed to be located on a lot in single-family residential zoning district, and no other accessory dwelling unit is located on such lot, and which is protected from prohibited regulations and unreasonable regulations. One of the big takeaways from that for me was the fact that they have detached as well within. So I remember last time we had town council on when we last discussed this, we kind of put a pin in it while we got further clarification. I think after this, it may be a good time in the near future to bring that up again, to discuss whether or not the town bylaw that was drafted in the spring of 24 needs to be revisited. They have a public comment period starting with an online form December 20th and a public hearing on January 10th. Let's see here. I think a lot of the takeaways essentially was that there needs to be very clear and concise regulations from different towns, essentially based with like design standards or what can and can't be regulated, what is unreasonable, what is prohibited in terms of the town regulations. So I think I will send those slides out to everybody, and then I think it would be wise to revisit it, maybe with town council's assistance in the near future in the new year.
Yeah, I did. I actually went back and I revisited our ADU that was approved, and we have what they used as an example of unclear language in our bylaw. Clear description to them is a roof pitch must be greater than 8 but less than 12. Unclear is the ADU must match the neighborhood description. And in ours, I printed it and highlighted, it says the residence must be designed in such manner to maintain the appearance of a single family. It must incorporate similar roof pitch in Sidon as the primary residence. So we have unclear, I'm not gonna say that this is high priority to change ours, because quite honestly, if you've read what they're proposing from the state, it kind of makes ours obsolete. You know, yes, we get a little bit more square footage, but the state allows so much less things are prohibited. Like, we require it be owner occupied. The state does not require an owner to occupy or reside on the property whatsoever. It does say that it can't be for short-term rentals if the town declares that. It could be built for short-term rentals, but the town could limit it from being built solely for short-term rentals. But overall, I did type in a question that did not get answered. The way I've interpreted it and read it is that we are following the state guidelines for everything for construction, such as in particular wetland setbacks. So if you're going by the state's 900 square feet, you can be within 25 feet of wetlands, where the town of Dartmouth is more restricted. So I'm not sure how much interest we're going to have with our bylaw now that this is out and the way this has come out. So, but something to keep an eye on.
Certainly. I'll send those slides out tomorrow.
The
thank you,
slides
Rob.
in the link, because you could watch the whole webinar.
Oh, I'd like to have that link.
Yes, I'll send the link, even better.
Thank you.
Absolutely. That was it from me. Other than the consultant's hours.
Okay, why don't we, yep, why don't we get a vote on the consultant's hours?
Motion made to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the consultant hours. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made by Nick Cyclepatis. Nick?
Yes.
Kevin Estes, seconded, yes. Margaret Sweet?
Yes.
Helio Rosa?
Yes.
Kevin Mello? Yes. Okay, so as far as my report, Ross, I know Ross has been talking with Dan Gioso and getting him up to speed. I don't have an exact start date at this time. Ross, you didn't get anything today about that, did you?
I believe on the 6th.
The 6th of January.
I believe so. Yep. So he will potentially be present at the first meeting, but I think we'll probably stick with the status quo for that one, at least where I cover it, but he'll hopefully be present.
Oh, what? We can't make him run a meeting on his first day? I mean, I think we should light a fire under him.
Oh my gosh.
That's good. That's good. And he'll be wrapped up with the DPW by then.
I think so.
All of his projects.
I think so. I think he would be in the planning office that day.
Okay. Very good.
Miss-
So yes, go right ahead.
Mr. Chairman, before we adjourn, I'd like to ask what you think in the board. I met today with the 3 fire chiefs concerning the cisterns that I'm working on. And I don't know whether the next meeting we could put some time aside, because I need to ask the board, and I need to speak to the building commissioner, and I need to speak to DPW yet. But it was an interesting meeting. I went out and saw a cistern in Westport. Westport has a bylaw already for subdivisions and installing cisterns. So I don't know if we have to put some time on the agenda or not for the January 6th meeting to discuss this, maybe 15, 20 minutes, so the board can kind of direct and know which direction we should go in.
Okay. Ross, if you could make that happen, please.
Consider it done.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
To echo Margaret's comment, as an aside, I've put a feeler out to a couple of civil engineers that obviously do this type of work for their feedback on what they are doing in other municipalities, particularly in more rural areas, to offer a different an alternative perspective to what they're seeing out there in the industry and in other developments, just to help frame and maybe add some additional context to this discussion. Anything that I'll receive back, I will share.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Helio, because I will say this without going into detail tonight. I was very surprised by what the fire chief said to me, okay, concerning cisterns. So that's why I need to talk to and do a little more research, because I'm not sure that's the right thing for the town of Dartmouth to do right now. But we'll discuss that on January 6th.
Yep, and whatever, like I said, whatever technical additional context that can be provided to help guide our process. I
Thank
think
you.
we would be better informed.
Yes.
Okay, very good. So with that being said, can I have a
Before-
motion to?
Mr. Chair, before I
Yes.
make a final motion, just one comment if I can. As Mr. Giosa is prepared to assume his new role, I just want to offer a public thank you again to Ross for his ongoing efforts and kind of holding down the fort for the last number of months. If everything goes according to plan per the information that we received, we will have a new planner by our next meeting. But just as a public thank you for the continued service by Ross and the exceptional job that he has done in serving the town.
Really has done a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Ross,
Thank
don't listen to this, but I agree.
Thank you, everybody. That's very nice.
Been a
It's
pleasure
true.
working with you.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn, second.
I'll do
Is
it.
that Kevin Estes?
Oh, Kevin got it? Yeah, Kevin got it.
Kevin got it, so.
Whoever.
Helio Rosa,
Yes.
Kevin Estes,
Yes.
Myra Sweet,
Yes.
Nick Cyclepatis,
Yes.
Kevin Mello, yes.
Merry Christmas.
Happy
and
holidays.
New Year.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas. everyone.
Likewise.